and say it out loud. Say it out loud. When looking for
He said a clap, Jake.
Yeah, and that's how we get started.
All right. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to Making It in Tampa Bay, the very first episode, and we're so excited that you guys have joined us for this. And just to kind of tell you about what this podcast is all about is, listen, there's four guys who we are friends. We've been friends for a little over a year now, and we are different ages from different backgrounds and have gone through different life experiences and have all found a way to kind of make it here in Tampa Bay. And so we just kind of wanted to start this to be able to share the things that we've been through, the things that have made us who we are now, to help you make it in Tampa Bay or wherever you're watching from. And so we're so excited that you joined in with us. And what this first podcast is going to be all about is kind of letting you know who we are, what are those things that have developed us, and maybe you watching this or listening to this will relate to maybe one of us. And so as we go on throughout this podcast, we're going to be talking about different life topics that maybe you're asking your question. You want to know, how do I make it through this? How do I deal with this? And so that's the things that we're going to be focusing on. But today you're going to get to learn a little bit about who we are, and then we're actually going to help answer one of your questions today, even at the end of this podcast. But before we get into any of that, we want to introduce you to who we are. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around the table, have everybody kind of talk about themselves for a little bit, because listen, there's not a lot of things that most people like to do more than talk about themselves. And so we're going to start off with the person that I don't know if anybody likes to talk about themselves more than Colton right here. So Colton, take it away, introduce the people to who you are.
Yeah.
And let's find out more about you.
That was a great introduction.
That was.
I'm so glad you popped that off.
That was good.
Snip
That was good.
I don't know how I feel about
Put
my
that in a
introduction.
box.
It's just being like to talk about myself. So my name's Colton. I'm just glad to be a part of this. I'm very excited for this, just because everyone here has got their own story, their own pathway in life. And I love the name, Making It in Tampa Bay. Everyone in this group has their own story of, working that 9-to-5 job, or working the corporate job, or being in the military 15 years, or staying with the corporate job myself. And now we've all kind of found this life of purpose and fulfillment, taking a different route of finding what we love to do and finding our gifts and finding our passion. So I think it's really exciting that we all had different viewpoints. We have, Jake is in fitness, Jake is in social media advertising. We have Pastor Ryan here for Radiant Church, and myself, who does life coaching. I'm a real estate broker as well. So a little bit about myself. I just trying to be the next Tony Robbins, trying to inspire the world. My message that I do on my Instagram through daily motivation, shout out to that. It's just really helping people find purpose, find fulfillment, find passion in their life, wake up every day doing something they love. And being able to dive into like the psyche and mentality of people to overcome adversity and to really find out what you're called to do. So that's a little about me.
Tell them where you're from.
Sure.
Tell them about your background story.
I was born in Tampa. I grew up in Sarasota, Bradenton. Went to school, Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton. Graduated with my business degree. And a little bit about myself. I love personal development. I love fitness. My little side hobby, I love playing little video games now and then too, with the boys all around the nation, all my military buddies. So, and just help making people's lives better. I aspire to be a motivational speaker. I aspire to be on stage in front of 5, 10, 20,000 people one day, just impacting lives, and just in the beginning journey to get there. And I'm excited to share my story of what I'm going through these beginning stages, through the struggles, the tribulations, but the joys as well, to hopefully inspire someone out there to find their joy and passion as well.
Awesome. Let's shoot across the table. Let's go over here to Jake.
All right. Hi everybody. I'm Jake Thomas. Guess we'll start with going the simple route of grew up in Bartlett, Illinois, so about 25 miles west of Chicago. Went to school at the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. Go Skurs. And then after I graduated college, moved back to Illinois, lived there for a year. And after 25 years of life, I decided it was too cold. And so a year and a half later, decided to move down here. And ever since then, I've been pursuing just a life of health and fitness, just trying to work on myself. Got in a bad spot after I graduated college and realized that the days of college and going out all the time is in the past. And so I decided to put myself on the righteous path towards making myself a better human being, friend, and now fiance. And so it's
big life update recently.
yeah. So florist people, if you don't know, are really expensive. I did not know flowers could cost that much. So if you want my advice, you can just elope. It's very cheap, I heard. Also, shout out to my fiance Haley. I love you. I just had to plug it.
Points right there.
Right, exactly. That.
Very good.
Hey, use this platform for whatever you want.
I know, exactly, right? So and with that, I've been able to, grow and continue to educate a lot of people about health and nutrition, because I think it's a scary part that we all come across, eventually in our own why, whether it's Pastor Ryan with his kids, and you doing CrossFit, helping Jake here, trying to get on the path, and then also our fantastic camera crew, who we also have to give a shout out to, the Dos Cocos Locos. They're incredible story as well, but trying to help them. So just trying to impact and better the community through the health and fitness space. So
Sweet.
yeah,
Awesome, man.
yeah.
All right, Kurt.
All right, I'm the second Jake on the podcast.
J squared.
My name is Jake Kurtz. I am the founder of Brick Media, which is a social media marketing and web development agency here in the Tampa Bay area. And actually most recently just expanded to the Atlanta area too, with the help of one of my good friends from home. So I was raised in Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh. So I'm a Pittsburgh sports fan through and through. Go Steelers. Did the traditional, go to college, get a business degree, got some, marketing jobs right after college. I did about 6 jobs, each for about a year apiece. And I was just trying to find my fit. I tried working at small companies. I tried working at larger companies, tried agencies, tried internal marketing departments. And then throughout all of those experiences, I learned basically all of the skills that were required to pretty much start my own thing and start offering the services on my own. So I decided to start Brick Media, which, was just a side project for a while. I was just, working my 9 to 5, making decent money, and then making, a few hundred extra bucks a month on the side, getting some clients in like restaurants and kind of legal services and some other industries locally. But I finally hit a point where like one day I was working from home, and it just hit me that like if I'm ever going to try this and really give it a full shot, I need to just jump in and do it. And that led to me calling my boss and putting in my 2 weeks, and pretty much like through the grace of God and through a lot of the other influences that I've had, I was able to make it work, and I've been doing it full time for about 10 months now. So slowly but surely growing and becoming more stable, and just trying to figure out how to take it from good to great. So that's kind of where I'm at. But
That's good.
yeah.
We'll just cut it right there.
Oh, and fun fact, Making It in Tampa Bay was originally going to be a podcast that I was going to do and just interview business owners in the Tampa Bay area. But then I figured the 4 of us are actually in a church group that meets every Tuesday morning. And a lot of the theme of what we always talk about is how we're all kind of making it in our certain areas. And we're all kind of in different industries, but we all kind of have similar mindsets and similar paths. So I was like, why not just bring the 4 of us together so that the conversations that we have on Tuesday mornings can be heard by more people. So that was kind of the motivation behind all of it and how it transformed into this.
Yeah, and I just realized looking around the room too that 3 of the 4 of us have beards. So,
Dude, I just shaved mine.
Dude, you gotta
It doesn't connect, dude.
I don't know if the
gotta-
camera can even see mine, so it's like barely.
Peach fuzz.
but
Peach fuzz.
yeah, you're right.
I'm trying to do that.
We need one handsome man in the group.
All right. So the
clean-shaven
man that we call PR,
Yeah.
Pastor Ryan, Holy, Mr. Holy.
Wow.
What's
That's maybe
Yeah, I think
better
our
intro
feature
than
references,
Coleman's.
we should let everyone know that we're just going to go by Kurtz and Thomas.
Yeah,
because
Kurtz
we
and
have
Thomas.
2 J's.
Yeah.
Just so
It's
for the
a
future.
executive reason. But like I said, my name is Ryan, and I am currently a pastor at Radiant Church here in Tampa, and I'm from Florida originally, 6th generation Floridian, which not a lot of people can say that. Grew up down in Fort Myers, and at 18, graduated high school and joined the Air Force, and spent 15 years in the Air Force as an aircraft mechanic and recruiter, and a lot of other random jobs towards the end. But kind of like these guys, kind of especially with Kurtz, with having a profession that he was in, and really felt the call to do something else. And so the lead pastor of our church sat me down before I was going to this Air Force leadership school a few years ago and said, hey, listen, I think that this is what you're supposed to be doing, so I'd like you to consider getting out of the military, which just seemed crazy because, at 15 years, I was 5 years away from retiring and having retirement money and benefits and all that kind of stuff for the rest of my life. And I really thought about it and prayed about it for a while and told him, I think that this is what I want to do too. So got out of the military after 15 years and went to work full-time at the church. And people still hear that, and you may be hearing this right now and you may be commenting saying you're crazy, but man, it's been blessed since I've been out, and my family has really been blessed through it too. I'm married. I've been married to Stephanie for 15 and a half years. So I'm 36. So if you do the math, we were really young when we got married, and we have 4 kids. So we have 2 biological children who are 11 and 9, and then we adopted from foster care several years ago. And so we have Alex, who's 23. So I'm 36 with a 23-year-old. And then we also have Seth, who is 2.5. And so the older statesman of the group here, married with kids. And so as you heard, all of us kind of have different backgrounds. We're in different stages of our life, in our professions and things that we're doing. And so we're excited to kind of share, like they said, we've been in a group together on Tuesday mornings through the church for the last year, and other people have kind of come and gone out of the group, but the 4 of us kind of sit around and we just talk about random topics that are on our mind, and that's kind of what this podcast is going to be, is about us just talking about random topics that are on our mind, but we also want to hear topics that are on your mind too, and things that you're thinking about. And so we'd love to have you comment, write in, DM us things that you're wondering about so that we know how we can address this, because we have a lot of things that are on our mind, but man, we want to be able to answer your questions too. And so even today, Kurtz on his social media at I am Jake Kurtz, shout out, go follow. He put it out there and asked people, what is something that you want to hear about on this podcast? And we had a few different responses. So one of the responses that we kind of thought would be great to kind of start this off, you heard a little bit about our background, where we've come from to where we are now, but one of the questions that was on the answers that Kurtz got was, where do you want to be in 10 years? And I think that's such a good thing, because I think it's a thing on a lot of people's minds, and they don't know where they want to be in 10 years. And so, kind of like how our Tuesday morning discussions, let's just open it up to the question that was asked to us. Where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oof, that's a tough one.
That's good.
I probably shouldn't go first.
I was going to say, do we let him go first?
45 minutes before I stop, man.
10 years from now.
Before we even start, I just want to say that I think Jake Kurtz's testimony, as far as finding purpose, is one of the coolest testimonies I've ever heard in my life, because I think so many people who I think my ideal person I speak to when I speak on my Instagram videos is people that were in your situation, that have coming out of college and grew up in this life where it's this is how it's supposed to be, our society. You graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate college, you find your 9 to 5, and you just go through the motions. And I think that what you did, going through that experience, grabbing all the knowledge you have, but realizing there's got to be something more. And you didn't just quit, but while you were working your opportunity in this job, you were preparing for the next. You were going to work 9 to 5, but when you came home, the Gary Vee lifestyle of 9 to 11, 9 to 12, you were preparing for your next career, which ultimately led you to a point where you could walk away from that and create what you're doing now, making probably almost double what you were making working the 9 to 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy when I think back on it, because I think a lot of people would kind of say that I went rogue and kind of did something out of the ordinary, but really when it comes down to it, I just feel like you live life one time, and if you're going through that 9 to 5 and you don't necessarily feel passionate about it, the worst possible thing that can happen is you try your own thing for a little bit, you don't make enough money, and then you have to get another 9 to 5.
And then you go back to what was not making you happy if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, so you go back to it, and then, you can try again. The fact is, I was 27 when I made that jump, and, I could literally screw up for the next 8 years and still be 35.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of good influences came into my life at once. I started going to Radiant and, really connected with the stuff that, everybody was saying there, and all the messages, and then Gary Vee and a few other different types of podcasts like that all came into my life at once. So I kind of feel like I had all these influences that were kind of strengthening my faith, strengthening my business knowledge and kind of my mindset around business. So it was kind of like preparing me from a business standpoint and the faith standpoint of like actually taking the leap and like knowing that everything's going to work out.
And you had me in your ear too.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, and we'll get to the question in just a second about the 10 years, but I think it's interesting because I think a few of us have made that kind of jump, and this is going to be a topic of a full podcast we'll do eventually.
Yeah.
But I think like what Jake is talking about and what Colton has done as well, and even Thomas as well, is, you know, we think that it's this crazy idea of like, oh, we're in a 9 to 5 but like the fact that he went and pursued his dream, I went and pursued my dream, you guys are doing the same thing, but people think it's crazy, it's this radical idea, and like you gotta think about like why is it such a crazy thing for people to go and pursue what they do? But if you think about like what's the American dream, right? Like the American dream is like you need to have a good job, you need to have security, you need to have a family, you need to have the house with the white picket fence and cars and
golden retriever,
a golden retriever, which you have.
Which you do have. Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that like this country was built on people pursuing their dreams, and the fact that now we've become so regulated, like the path that you should take is you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a good job, you make good money, and then you die with things like But that's the thing is like pursuing that purpose for your life, the thing that you were made to do, and even if that causes you to go outside of like what is expected of you, I think it's something that we shouldn't find as crazy as we do. We find it crazy because people want to be so secure. I think that's the American dream. That's what we're being taught to do. And so it's funny, we look at this, we're like, oh man, you made it crazy. I got out of the military after 15 years and gave up retirement and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, but we're living lives that we love right now.
Yeah,
so we're getting to do things that we love, and even though it's not conventional, like it's awesome.
Right.
Why do you guys think it is considered radical? Like, why do you think that is?
Because not everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so many people, one of the biggest human values, it's all different. There's like 7 of them, but certainty and security. And I think it's, people get so scared. Like, what if I jump? What if I can't pay my bills? They live in such a state of fear, right? But it's like, when it comes to the 10-year vision, I think that it can kind of wrap around to you too. I just want to ask you a question. When you were working this job, did you have like the dream or the vision of where you wanted to go? Like what the company was you wanted to create?
No. I mean, I saw the basics of it because I was working at companies that were basically like what I wanted to build. Like I was working at ad agencies and I wanted to build an ad agency. I just wanted to do it on my own. So it was kind of one of those things where I was learning the fundamentals, but I didn't necessarily have this grand vision. Like in 10 years, I want to have this ad agency with 50 employees or whatever it may be. Right. It's just kind of like taking what is already in front of you right now and kind of executing on it that day. And then the path kind of unfolds itself as you go.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I think it's just kind of taking that day specifically and doing what's in front of you, and like you have to kind of think ahead a little bit, but not too much to the point where like that's all you're going to think about, and it's just going to like take up your time, and you're going to spend more time strategizing and pondering than you are executing.
Yeah.
So.
Just not to get like this misinterpreted. Like if you have a 9 to 5 and you love what you do, I don't think we're not talking to you.
No,
right? That's amazing. Like do what you're doing, but to the people like me, for example, who were working the 8:30 to 5:30, who were absolutely miserable. I wasn't fulfilled. I was waking up in the morning, dreading going to work, hating Sunday night, and like those are the people we speak to. When there's got to be something more than this. There's got to be something that I can look forward to every day and wake up loving what I do. Those are the people we're really talking to let you know, hey, there is a way out. Right, it might require a little sacrifice, a little discipline, a little pain at first, but ultimately, I think all of us have made that jump.
Yeah.
And like Kurt was saying, you don't have to see, like Martin Luther King says, the whole staircase. It's just taking the first step and letting God open the doors for you, and things start to happen, and that's normally what does.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to answer your question, why people don't do that, it is the fear of security. Like you know what to expect if you stay. You don't know what to expect if you leave. Yeah. And that's the thing that's going to hold most people back. But it's like and make sure you do it in the right time. He did it in the right time for him. I did it in the right time for me, and same with all of us. So, but if there is that thing out there, like you need to pursue it,
and just at the right time in like the history of the world too, because it's like at a time where I could go home and log on to social media and build something on the side when in 1975, nobody could do that. They went home from work and had dinner, and like, what could they do?
Yeah, absolutely.
You couldn't do that.
And we've made these decisions with the idea of like, of a future doing these kind of things. And so back to our question of where do you see yourself in 10 years, and how are you going to get there? So what does that look like for you guys?
I thought it was good. Pastor Doug at Radiant Church, he asked us in a small group one time about what does your legacy look like? And I talked to, shout out to the Dos Locos crew over here. I actually talked to him about this in their podcast. And what I loved was the president of First Forum, the supplement company that I work with, has taught me so much, has educated me on health and nutrition, and just being able to genuinely care about people and helping them and replacing sell with help. But I thought it was really interesting that Sal Frisella, the president, talked about, what does the line at your funeral look like? And what is like the legacy that you're leaving look like? Yeah. And so I think living that day in and day out and having that like in the forefront of your mind, but also thinking about that in your 5-year, 10-year plan, like how does your line look, 5 years from now? How does your line look 10 years from now? And so thinking about like, how are you continually like getting to that point of like, I want to continue to invest in the people around me. And so what I've thought about is, 5 years from now, like I want to be able to like impact, X amount of people through health and fitness. And then 10 years, I want to be able to like open up a gym and, do X, Y, and Z. And so just continuing to invest in my legacy and how much I'm growing, to continue that, has really like helped me like actually think about like a vision. And I think Colton talked about it, right before we jumped on here. I don't know what it was from Proverbs, but, being able to have a vision and being able to have purpose. Because I have had a lot of people talk about like, oh, what's the point of having a 5 or 10 year goal? But I think, having that in the forefront, really helps.
I mean, I think everything I want to talk about is going to be specifically designed for a specific podcast on when it comes to finding purpose or finding motivation. Right. Yeah. But just to double down on that, the Proverbs is without a vision that people perish. Right. And it's like what that really means is like internally, like if we don't have something we're going after, something that inspires us, that we can look forward to, something we can create, like we die inside. But we have no reason to want to be inspired to get out of bed, to jump out of bed. There's nothing that we look forward to, which is why it really is so important to have a vision, and not just a grand vision, but anything in life. Whether it's your body, when you're at the gym, whether it's having the vision of the body you want or the goals you want to hit. I mean, these things pull you into the future and inspire you to keep going. So one of the quotes I wanted to say, I really love it, but it came up. By the way, for future references, I'm full of quotes. I'm like a quote guy.
He is full of quotes.
I love quotes. I listen to a bunch of personal development. Anytime I hear something great, I write it down because I know it can impact someone else, and that's why I do it. But when it comes to taking that jump, when people are so scared, and one of the quotes I wrote down is, whenever you let go of something scary, it's only scary because your mind can measure what you will lose, but it can't see what you will gain. Ooh. And something we were talking about yesterday in our small group is how every decision that human beings make in life is for one of two reasons: to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. But ultimately, the one to avoid pain is usually much more powerful than it is to gain pleasure. So, for example, not leaving the job, because we associate that to so much pain in our mind, will create so many circumstances that can go wrong, right? But it can't see what we will gain. And I think that if we can think about that, really close our eyes and visualize waking up every morning on fire, passionate, how we can serve others, how we can have growth and contribution and create a life of our dreams, that might encourage someone to be willing to take that jump.
Yeah, that's true, for sure. That's good. Yeah, I think when you look at setting those future goals and stuff like that, it really is, it's so important to set goals and there's spilled everywhere.
First accident of the podcast.
We're gonna have to work on this next time.
But we made a mistake putting Colton right by the microphone.
Right. Bad mistake.
But no, I think when you look at setting a vision for the future, it's so important to have good vision. And to throw another quote out there, Michelangelo, not the Ninja Turtle, but the artist Michelangelo, he said this. He said, the danger isn't setting the bar too high and missing, but the danger is setting the bar really low and actually hitting the mark.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
And for us, I think it is, even with the crazy big goals, like what's that crazy big goal in your life? And for me, it's the same thing. Like I want to continue to develop myself there's places I want to go in ministry and positions that I want to be that I've set for myself. There's numbers I want to see hit in church and people that I've impacted through things that I directly do. There's things for my family, stuff like that. So I have these big goals, but I think also the thing that is effective for me is one, having those big goals in mind, but also like not just focused on 10 years from now, but like what am I doing today to get there?
It's good.
Because if we talk about fitness a lot, I do CrossFit as well, and I say that because the first rule of CrossFit is that you tell everyone that you CrossFit. So as a CrossFitter,
I do not do CrossFit.
He does not do CrossFit.
Just clarify.
Colton also does not. He's afraid of it. So
Colton's afraid to work out with me, so I want to also shout out. If you think I should take Jake and Colton through a workout, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're just
I
gonna
work out. My fear is I don't like making other people look bad. And so if I have to go to Jay Kirk's gym and embarrass everyone there,
That's it.
as a godly man, I don't want to do that. I'm trying to stay humble. You know,
Understood.
But to finish that thought, as a CrossFitter, really for my whole life, I've hated running. And so when I was in the military, I was forced. I didn't choose. I believe fun run is an oxymoron, but I was made to run 5Ks randomly with the Air Force. And the thing that I did in the beginning is I would think about how much further I had to go, and it would make me be defeated so early. So I'd be a half mile in, and my legs would start hurting, and I'd be like, I hate this. And I'm thinking like, man, I still have 2.5 miles to go. And I would feel so defeated because I thought about how much further I had to go to get to the end destination. But I started to have a change in mindset, especially when I started doing CrossFit, thinking about how to get through a CrossFit workout, is I stopped thinking about the end, and I started thinking about like, okay, all I have to do right now is just keep moving. All I have to do right now is just like run this a little bit more, and just keep doing that over and over and over again, and I'll eventually get to my goal. And so for me, when I look at where I want to be in 10 years, I have these big goals for myself. But every day when I wake up, I think about like, what can I do today to help me work towards these goals? How am I developing myself? Who am I impacting today?
Yeah. It was exactly like what you were talking about from Chris Kyle yesterday.
No, yeah, I was just thinking about that. Marcus Luttrell in Lone Survivor.
Yes. Survivor, yeah.
When he was injured, he couldn't walk and he was crawling, and he had to go like 3 miles, had no idea how he would get there. But he'd crawl on the floor, he would draw a line in the sand, like a couple feet in front of him, he'd crawl to the line, draw a line in the sand, crawl to the line, and eventually, reach his outcome.
Yeah.
So how do you think that plays into planning out 5-10 years from now? Like, how do you think that, like, the baby steps, and like, how do you plan out like the 5 years and then the little act? Because everybody thinks about like the date, I want to set a goal for myself 5 years from now or 10 years from now. But how do you keep yourself on that daily like task or list, to get yourself there?
I mean, for me, the numbers like 5 and 10 years are kind of arbitrary numbers.
Sure.
I kind of just
they're gonna change.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the thing. They're gonna change.
I have more of a macro idea of what I want for my life, and then like the micro steps that are the day-to-day things, and that's kind of another Gary Vee type of thing that I've learned over the past year or so. Mm-hmm. But it's like having that micro plan, or the macro plan, which for me is kind of just like I want to be able to sustain a business and basically pay my own bills by myself. Not by myself, but like running my own business, and I want to be able to keep doing it basically for my entire life. So that's my macros. Like I just need that freedom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily about money for me. I mean, it would be nice to end up making a good amount of money, but it's not like I have these like 2 million, 3 million goals in my mind. Like I'd be cool with like, $100,000 and just being able to do it. So my motivation is kind of just the ability to continue.
Yeah.
And the micro way to do that over time, I think, is just to build something that becomes more and more stable and becomes more and more, kind of running on its own type of thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm at that stage now where I've been the person that does all the work and kind of gets a few people involved here and there, but I'm really trying to take it to the next level and like actually build a team and build a more stable client base.
Jake, I want to ask you, what is your why behind this dream?
That's still something I'm trying to figure out every day. I mean, it's not really that clear. Again, I think over time I've realized that I value the freedom more than anything. And basically I think that's just, I tried so many different types of jobs and I just never fit in with any job that I had, and I think the opportunities that I had in those jobs were actually really good, and I think a lot of people would, love to have those jobs that I had. But for me, it was always just lacking the ability to control my own schedule. I can start work on a Tuesday at 11 if I want. I can also work on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Like, it's just kind of having control over my life.
Yeah.
And I just think we all have such a limited time on this earth that I think for me, the best way to maximize that is doing what I want to do every day. So that's kind of my why.
I think people at the same time are so scared because they have no idea how they're going to achieve these dreams. They have these big dreams, but they're like, I don't want to create them because I have no idea how or where to start.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes I really love by Nietzsche is he says, "He who has a why can bear any how." So it's just having that dream, but having the why behind it. For example, me wanting to be on stage as a motivational speaker. I want to inspire lives. I want to change lives. I want to wake people up. That's my why. I have no idea how to get there, but this is my dream, and I know one way or another it's going to work. And I'm telling you, week after week, doors begin to open as I begin to be faithful with the little things. Obviously, I can see the vision start to come into life.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important, and one of the things, I run a mastermind group with entrepreneurs called the Next Level Movement, right? Taking our life to the next level. And every week, I make you tell me, what is this? What is your next level? How are you getting there? What are we doing? Right? But when you sit down at my table, it's your first time joining, I make you come up with, what is your 5-year vision? Like, if you wake up in 5 years, you open your eyes, what are you doing? What's your life look like? Where are you? And I think that, that's the scariest part for people who are unmotivated. It's like, they say, I don't know. It's like, you say you want to be happy and you want a life of fulfillment and you want a dream life. But I ask you, what does that even look like? And you have no idea.
Yeah.
So I think the first and foremost, the most important thing is to create that vision. Like, what is your dream life? What is a life of happiness? What is success for you? And determining that, and I think you're in a much better chance to hit it if you actually have one.
Yeah.
But that's by far the most important thing to have.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think another thing that people should realize that are listening to this and maybe they don't have a why that they really have ironed out, I think if you just kind of start trying some things, your why is going to unfold itself over time. I think people spend so much time pondering and trying to figure out their why that they never actually take any steps to figure out if they like, painting or marketing or speaking. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you might not even like what you think you want to do. So just try a bunch of different things and eventually it's going to unfold itself.
Yeah.
And then in a certain amount of time, you're going to be like, oh, okay, that's why. But you might not know right away, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, once more around the room. Any final inputs here?
Dude, I'm ready to
Some
go.
fun?
I'm ready to keep on.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
just knock out.
We can't give them everything in week one.
boy.
We can't give them everything in week one.
So one thing I wanted to say though is we have a Making It in Tampa Bay Instagram account, and this is obviously going to be on Apple and Spotify. So those are going to be the main areas that we're kind of active. And you can find us all separately. We're all tagged in the bio on Making It in Tampa Bay. So that's where you can find us, and you can send direct messages. We're going to have stories up where we're going to ask questions, and you can submit your own questions for the podcast. So we're going to be very interactive with you guys and try to provide as much value as we can.
Well, hopefully you guys got something out of this. You learned, you kind of got to see the personalities and the different backgrounds here. And so we're excited to begin this journey, this kind of podcast journey with you guys. And hopefully this is going to be something that impacts you. Like I said, make sure to go follow us on Instagram and be looking out for future episodes coming up. Make sure you rate us, share this with other people, get other people to follow. They don't have to be in Tampa Bay to listen to this podcast. They can listen to it from all over the place. And so thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time.
Say it out loud.